Well, we're back live again, hopefully anyway. So I'm going to keep an eye on my phone a sec while we're doing this. But yeah, let's try last week's live stream a second time. And fingers crossed, popping an extra 50p or 50 cents in the meter means that our internet connection lasts a bit longer. But Jeffrey, how are you, my good man? Are you doing well?
I'm doing well. I spent a lot of time praying to the internet gods, hoping for a good connection, and I got a good feeling about this one. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good, man. Fingers crossed. Anyway, so far it's still saying it's waiting for us. So I don't know if we're actually live yet or not. So if we are, there's people popping in. Hey, Robert, how you doing? If you could just let us know, can you see us, hear us? Everything sound okay? Look okay? Yep, we are going live. That's cool. That's all I wanted to know. I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Like I say, last week was a little bit frustrating from both our sides of things, but I think it's given us time to maybe reflect on some of those topics, have a little sort of think about what we want to cover, how we want to cover it, and probably had a few experiences this last week that may be good things to talk about. But yeah. So,
I,
how's
yeah,
your
I
week
think
been?
so. Yeah, I think it was actually a blessing, man, because as you know, I had food poisoning at the time,
You did.
and I had a lot of coffee right before to try to like overcome the food poisoning, but yeah, I think the live stream could have gone sideways. I think I could have said a lot of things I shouldn't have. That was a strong possibility.
There's still scope for that now. You never know what's going to be
You
said.
never know.
You never know. You never know. So, I mean, the whole point of this kind of live stream this week and probably moving forward is instead of focusing on a single topic, there's a couple of things we want to talk about. We're going to kind of go through a bit more sort of rapid fire, spend like maybe 5-10 minutes on different topics, get your involvement, give our kind of points of view. So if anything that we talk about is something you want to sort of get involved in, make sure you pop a question in the chat so we can kind of talk about things there. But let's start off with the first thing that we sort of have on there, which is the Elementor 4 editor. So we've both released videos on this recently, and I know that a couple of other people have released them as well, and there's been sort of general feedback about the whole thing. But you probably dived into it a little bit more than I have, a bit more experience with it over the last sort of 6 months where you've been developed, and now that it's being sort of said to be production ready. Any kind of thing that's jumping out at you immediately about the V4 editor? Any thoughts on it specifically?
Uh, I'm glad that it's moving forward. That's like the big thing. I'm glad to see these changes finally happening. And after hearing was Reno, he had that interview with them and hearing that, they are ready to go forward and make this, out of beta and make it live. I feel like it kind of gives some clarity and some just confirmation knowing like, okay, now we can start learning because for a while the beta was going slow, releases were going slow, and I felt like I didn't want to put too much time and energy into trying to learn something that isn't ready yet. But now
Mm.
that it is, or at least ready as far as it's going to be ready, now I know that, okay, it's time to start diving in, time to really start getting serious, learning how to use it. For my case, I want to be able to teach how to use it. And, there's some things that I hope to see really soon. Overall, I am excited about it.
I think it's definitely the right direction for them to go in. But my biggest concern, and I'm sure you probably echo this as well, is V4 living alongside V3 inside the same editor. Um, and obviously, the repercussions of doing that, where you're trying to run two different, let's just call it like sort of like platforms, because you're dealing with one that's atomic elements, that's all CSS classes and variables and all the benefits that that brings. But you're then also having these widget ones that sit alongside it, and obviously the code increases that they bring over the top of the atomic features and atomic elements. I mean, have you tried the two of these side by side and taken a look at how the code differs or how it sort of has a negative impact upon everything?
Yeah, I did, and it is kind of weird, man. It
Mm.
is weird. It's like two different tools, two different ways of building it, and you got to combine them. I'm not a fan, we know it's what it is now. It's how it's going to be. From my side, though, I really want to see a way to build without V3 elements. If I'm going to
Mm.
use V4 with that workflow, I want to have the same workflow through my entire workflow.
Yeah. Because I think that's the problem you've got at the moment is you have so few atomic elements. And then it means you automatically have to fall back and rely upon V3 widgets, which then kind of means that even if you want to go fully into the new V4 way of working, you can't. You're still kind of hampered, which I think is probably one of the biggest things that I say about like being production ready. When you only have 10 atomic elements that are not everything you need to build sites, I can't see how it can be considered production ready, because you're using a kind of, you could call it a hybrid approach or a bastardized approach. Whichever way you look at it, it's still not optimal. That's my concern at the moment. Is I think they are just a little too early in the journey to be saying this is production ready. You know, if people want to dive in on new projects and try it, then cool, go for it. But there's still so much missing. 10 elements. That's not a lot. And when you consider things like, was it tabs and things like that in there, they're not really essential elements as basic building blocks for a site. So I'm kind of like, it just feels like, I think we spoke off air, it feels just a little bit rushed, a little bit sort of like we have to get this out there, regardless of if it's ready yet. I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you think they're pushing this out a bit too quick? Is there a rushing reason behind it?
It's not just V4. I think that's kind of like everything, right now. It's kind of like also the trend, or at least like how they usually approach things. But right now, there's so many things going on between Elementor 1, between things like Angie. I mean, we got things like Site Planner we don't really hear about. I mean, there are other things that are just completely being overlooked as well, like cloud templates. And then there's another website template, or there's another thing that I saw in there I never even heard about. Couldn't really find anything on that. And I just think there's so much going on,
Hmm.
and that definitely they're just trying to move really fast. So I think that's what we're seeing. But this is also maybe all of the AI stuff moving quickly, maybe just that pressure that they might be getting. It's really hard to say the reason why. I just hope that they give us enough in the V4 that we can use it. Now, real quick though, I do feel like with Elementor widgets, I barely use any of them anyways anymore. I
Hmm.
feel like the way the design workflow goes, really I only use a handful anymore. All those other old ones like table of content. Well, no, TLCs are important, but like pricing tables and all
Yeah.
those old ones, they're just kind of deprecated because ever since we got Flexbox and Grid and they have cleaned up the code, they made it work better. There really isn't a need. So I don't know. Maybe if they were to get Grid inside of their Flex Atomic Element, they were to get Forms. I think those two are coming up really soon. Hopefully.
I think they need to. I wish they just held back a little bit longer to get those key elements ready to go into atomic elements. So they would have at least launched with something that would be usable for a proper project, not just sort of to test out or to create simple projects, because you can't sort of push yourself as being a professional design tool, push forward the classes based system, and only have really minimal features that don't cover everything anybody seriously wanted to build a site would use. And then you kind of have to ask yourself, well, what's the plan moving forward? Are they expecting people to sort of stop using this at some point and go and remove all those older widgets from projects as the atomic elements come out, which then really kind of hampers an agency or a business where they can't realistically afford to go back and say, well, they're no longer now being needed. So we're going to go back and change those over to the atomic elements because that's the better way of going about it. So we're going to clean up all the old residual V3 legacy elements and update everything to V4. So it kind of feels, it does feel rushed. It feels like there's a bit of a panic going on that people are, I don't know, I think we've seen it across the board. People are leaving to go into AI, regardless of what we think. And we'll talk about AI a little bit later, I think. But it does feel like there's a little bit of fear of losing market share and therefore creating Elementor 1, pushing the V4 editor out before it's realistically ready for most use cases, calling it production ready so people start to adopt it. That does feel a little bit like panic selling. It's like, let's get these things out there. Let's make it a bundled package. Because if you look traditionally in any kind of sort of business, when like a new model of a car comes out, and you've got like there's the 2025 version, and the 26 version is due to come out. So what they do is the 25 version, they start adding all the optional extras into that base price because they want to shift that and get it out the door to clear, ready for the next one. So there's a bit of sort of like we've got to sell these. And it kind of feels a little bit like that with Elementor One. It's like these things are just not being adopted at the rate we would like them. So let's bundle them all together so we can sell it as a package, and then you have vendor lock-in, which makes it a lot more difficult to kind of leave. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think you can't sell a brand new car if the seatbelts aren't installed yet, or
True.
if there are some missing parts in it. You don't want to sell it quite yet. But yeah, I mean, the whole production ready thing, I mean, that part did get to me. Like, I'm excited to see this moving forward. I'm excited to see it going into beta. And I understand that. I get it. I've been seeing a lot of reports, inside our community. We're seeing people reporting like, classes aren't being saved, other issues happening. I've come across other issues, and that's normal. That's to be expected. That's part of it being in beta, for those bugs to come out and, brought to the surface so they could get worked on. I just think that there needs to be a responsibility. Saying something is production ready, use it on a live web. Production ready to me at least, it means use it for something live, like a client's
Yes.
website. And that's a dangerous message when something is still in beta. It was the first release of beta. I mean, it's kind
Yeah.
of silly if you really think about it. But yeah, I mean, I guess it is kind of rushed, and I just hope that I'm not a patient person, so I hope they rush personally. Do you
But
think do you think they should have done what Divi did and just started all over? Because I can only imagine it would have been cleaner not having, easier not having to support all the legacy code and all the old stuff from, like, I don't know, like how many years now it's been
I think
going
it's
on.
11 years, I think. I think it's
Wow.
10 or 11
Yeah.
years. Yes, I think the ideal scenario would have been to do something like that, where you start with a clean slate. Because, I mean, historically, you look like a Microsoft, Adobe, and so on. The biggest flaws you've got in their products is the fact that they are supporting legacy code, legacy versions, which means that they can't compete with the newer, modern, faster tools like Affinity, for example. And with everything like that, if you constantly just update that same version, you will end up becoming stuck with that legacy code. WordPress is already problematic with it. Anybody that sort of says they've gone into the WordPress code is there's so much code deficit there, and there's such a sort of mess of code being sort of put together that there's issues with that. And at some point, I think all products realistically should have a life cycle. They have a lifespan. At some point, they say, right, this is now, we can't support this any longer. We will release bug fixes for an X period of time, but after that, then you have to move over, or you stay on that and you support it yourself, kind of thing. I know it might sound harsh, but the reality is that if you don't go down that route, I think everybody starts to pay the penalty for your choice of not going down that route, for not kind of starting with a fresh, clean slate where you can create a new code base. Not easy? No, absolutely not easy. Not something that would be a simple change. Go right. They go V4, end of life. We give you 6 months. But if you consider something like operating systems, like if you look at a Mac, they're supported on your phones, on your tablets, on your Mac, your MacBook, and so on, your Office and stuff like that. Sorry, your Windows and stuff like that. They have a lifespan, then they have an end of life, then they have a sort of just a bug fix sort of period before it is now, right, that is it, it's over with. And we kind of accept that in the tech industry because realistically, we have to know that there's only so far you can kind of go before things start to go wrong. And maybe that needs to be adopted a little bit more in the WordPress stroke web design industry. It's like it has to stop at some point and start afresh. So I think Divi did do the right thing. I think they will reap the rewards. I think they've probably had a tough transitionary period. But the stuff that I've seen is people are not kind of going like, well, I'm not using Divi anymore because they're moving to V5. I think people are excited because users that use this for their business have been stuck with those frustrations for a long time where V3, V4, whatever it is, whatever versions they were on, they start to see those problems because the internet, browsers, people's expectations, technology moves very, very fast. And when you've got a builder that's effectively 10 years old and 10-year-old code, refactoring that as they found out, trying to clean up the code that's actually produced from those elements, those widgets, and so on to streamline things. That's taken so long because they're trying to retrofit those solutions. If they didn't have to retrofit, maybe that would have allowed them to be more agile.
It's a tough one, I mean, that's the whole problem when you got legacy code. And one thing I have seen Elementor do is fix their code. Like they get a lot of heat. And back in the days, they got tons of heat for having bad code. Just tons of divs and IDs all over the place. But that's really not the case anymore. They have. It's just been such a slow process. They've been chipping away. But I think what happened is like they chipped away little by little by little and it added up and nobody really saw the big difference between what it was 5 years ago and
Yeah.
what it is today. It's a huge difference. I remember I went back to one of my old videos where I was actually counting the divs on something like a header widget. It had like 12 divs or something, just ridiculous, wrapping it. But now it's like just 2 or 3, on the V3 version. But yeah, man, I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm just assuming, but I would guess they had that conversation. They would had to have had it. Like, do we rebuild it? Do we make something brand new? Or do we combine it? And I'm sure they had their reasons to combine it. I'm just hoping they had the foresight to keep the consideration of separating them. Like that would be really cool. Like if right now in this transition period that they're just combining the two because that's really the best course maybe for them right now because building you see how long it's taken Divi to build
Oh,
version
yeah.
5.
Yeah,
It
about
takes a
2
long
years.
time. And I'm just hoping right now, speculating, but I'm hoping that they, have something in mind in case they need to split the two, because that would be pretty cool. I remember a couple years ago, I gave my Elementor wish list, and number one on the wish list was Pro mode, like an option where you can just hit the button and all the old stuff is gone, and now you have something new that is just completely rebuilt and it's separate. It's
Yeah.
just cut off and separate.
Perfect world scenarios. But
Yeah, I guess I'm feeling a little optimistic today.
hey, look, I mean, I know I don't use Elementor anymore. And I know I've probably given them a hard time over the last couple of years. But I do think they do deserve credit for pushing things forward. They absolutely do. But I do think that it would have been more advantageous if they'd done it more, like you say, where they'd refactored as opposed to retrofitted. But this leads me on to the second thing I want to talk about, which is kind of like a nice little transition. Now that you've got Elementor bringing out the V4 editor, which obviously is very focused on classes, variables, and so on. So the things that we've been using in Bricks for quite some time. One of the things that I've seen a lot of people say is like, if I want to spend the time to learn these kind of things, I may as well move to Bricks because it's already further advanced. What are your thoughts? Because I've seen a lot of rumblings about people not happy with the direction that Elementor is going in. I think maybe because they don't see the benefits of it and they've got to go back and relearn how to do things. And it is a learning curve. I mean, we've both been through it where we moved over to using Bricks for various different projects, whether fully or, sort of alongside Elementor. It is a learning curve. It's not a complicated learning curve, but it is a learning curve. What are your thoughts there? I mean, if you were in the position now, and the reason I ask this is I've got a video coming out tomorrow comparing the two. Which one would you use for the next project? No sort of biases, just like the pros and cons of each side of things. But if you were starting a new project now, right, whether commercially or for yourself, which direction would you go in? Which tool would you use from a commercial point of view, not for a personal thing, but like if you were doing this as a business and you were an agency working with a client, what would be your choice?
It's It's funny you're bringing that up because I'm starting a new project with a new client in a couple of weeks, and I've been thinking about this. Like which one should I use for this project? I feel like with Elementor I could go faster, not with the V4 because the V4 is going to still take some time to set up, get the workflow done down, and I'm not really keen on starting a project right now with something in beta and also combining it with V3. Like I just don't want to like create layouts where I got to use the grid, in the V3 flex box versus the V4 flex box for just flex layouts, and I use grid a lot, so that part is off the table. The V4 on the new project is something I wouldn't do right now at this moment. Personally, I would like to use bricks because I just geek out. I have fun with it. Like when I'm in bricks, I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I'm in a video game heaven, like for building a website. It's just like really fun. But then I also go down rabbit holes in bricks, where I'm like trying to optimize my framework and core framework, and I'm finding new ways to do things. So like for productivity, I know in bricks it could be more productive if you stick to the plan. But for me, I kind of get sidetracked a little bit. Where Elementor, I just start building. I'm not overthinking. I'm not like, thinking like a chess game, where I'm trying to plan things 3 steps ahead, where I would have to in bricks. So I'm still stuck on it, man. Even right now, I'm getting flustered because I can't make up my mind. I might flip a coin. I don't know.
See, the thing is, the first thing you said there was one of the points that I bring up in the video that I've got coming out, which is Elementor faster because of your familiarity with it? Or because it is currently more limited? Because you say, you kind of get sidetracked, you go down there sort of like you're optimizing your framework and so on. Surely that's going to be exactly the same in Elementor once that becomes, V4 becomes the standard and V3 is kind of deprecated. Surely you're going to have exactly the same thing there. I mean, to me, my kind of thought process on it is, regardless if you're an Elementor user or a Bricks user, or you like us, we've got a sort of foot in potentially in both sides. There's just the fact that Bricks was built pretty much from day dot to work in this way. It uses standardized CSS. It uses the cascade is better. Everything is built to work the way that Elementor is trying to be. And Elementor is, I would say Elementor is at least 2 years away of being where Bricks is right now. And that's with a much bigger team and a much bigger budget, because they're trying to retrofit while not deprecating everything and losing everybody. And that's a much, much slower process, as we saw with Flexbox, with CSS Grid, with lots of those things being brought in with as they've tried to modernize. So I can't see a reason, other than, like I say, if you just don't use Bricks and you don't want to, I can't see any reason why you would choose Elementor over Bricks to build projects from now. Just because Elementor is so far behind in that core infrastructure over what Bricks is. And that's not being a fanboy. That's just from a point of view of like, well, it might be quicker to build it. You know that nothing is going to drastically change inside Bricks. So once you've built that, you don't have to go back and take out old legacy components. You did years ago, where they moved over to sort of the tabs and the accordions and so on, moved over from being like a widget like we see previously in Elementor to becoming more component based. But because the classes, because the variables, because the framework and everything is all built in there and it's solid, it's been tried and tested, you know that once you've built the site, it might take a little longer. Updating it and maintaining it and expanding it is going to be super quick because your framework is in place and all the facilities you need for that framework are there and integrated directly into the actual builder itself and every aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's cool a lot of the times in Bricks, but I also find challenges in there still. Like something like building a header. Like I could go in and build a really dope header inside of Elementor fast. in bricks, even with my framework and even after building a lot of them, it still takes a lot of time. And it's the little things too, like if I want to go to the coffee shop and work on a website on my MacBook, it is really hard to work on for me, a bricks website on a MacBook on a small screen. Elementor only needs the one panel. I could have the structure panel floating around. I don't need to depend on that structure panel in order for building. Where bricks, you got to be really involved in both. It just makes the canvas small for me. And another thing too is like you got to like really get used to that framework and use it a lot. If you're not using it a lot, at least in my experience, if I'm not using that same framework a lot, when I come back to a website in 3 months, I'm like, what class did I use? What's attached to this class? Like, what style do I have? Like, it was fun setting it up and building it for sure. Like, I enjoy building in the class, with class focus. I enjoy using variables. I probably use Figma more than I use WordPress. And inside Figma, I am big on variables, like variable everything. And I get very frustrated when because I use a lot of templates, like I use UI8, phenomenal templates. I like to just like download and use assets, but it gets so frustrating when nobody uses variables. Now, as somebody who builds websites and knows the importance of variables, you can just go in one space, change it, it changes everywhere. I love all that. I love the system, but still, for me, I'm just much faster. There's a lot of things I could build quicker inside a form. I could build it much faster. I don't need a third-party form for Elementor. That form is like good 95% of the time for the projects that I use. It's still good if somebody else needs to come in who isn't as developer focused. We might have somebody working on branding, somebody who needs access and has to do something on the website for a client. And those kind of things I got to consider as well when I am building the website for a client. If this for me, like my own website, hands down, bricks. Like I'm right now rebuilding the Lightbox website. So bricks. But I'm also geeking out on it. And I probably could have had that new website live a month ago, because I'm trying to update the framework and, fix my naming inside of the classes. Excuse me, but yeah. Yeah, I guess I don't know. That's just my own experience with it. I just go deep in these rabbit holes. Bricks is really easy to get lost in.
But that's going to be exactly the same once Elementor moves over V4 fully.
I do you know what Elementor has one strong skill that they have done since the very beginning. They got a way to make things simple. They are very good at simplifying things. And I have a feeling they're going to keep this much more simple. I think a lot of like hardcore bricks users like us are going to want more, but yeah, that's just my guess right now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I say you are more of an Elementor user than I am these days. I mean, I go back and take a look at things in it, but I don't use it very often. I think one of the biggest frustrations that I found with it was the reliance upon third-party plugins to do so much. And I got fed up with that side of things, where just to get started, you had to install things like, what's it called? Dynamic content for Elementor or those kinds of tools, because they were never fully featured. You still can't do a lot of things with a loop. Your loop grid is still relatively simplistic in bricks. In Elementor. Just like a dynamic data, you can't use repeater regions and stuff like that. You still have to use external plugins to do those kinds of things. So it's kind of like, I just got fed up with all that. I wanted one place where I can just do 99% of what I need. And if there's something that's outside of that, then I can look. And most of the time, I don't need that 1% thing. Whereas Elementor was kind of like 75% I could get done, but that 25% was external plugins. And that just become the headache just for the fact that Elementor updates so often. Elementor is like Windows when it comes to updates. It's like every time you log in, there's an update. And it's like you can't just go in there, do something, come back out, it's got to update it. So then you're going through your backups and stuff. That just got a little bit sort of tiring. And that's okay if you do it on one site, but at the time, I think I probably had like about 60 clients, and most of them were using Elementor. And you can imagine then how stressful it was to update things. I mean, you've done it. You probably lived that dream. there's only so much time you've got in a day to be able to manage that side of things when you're dealing with updates for WordPress, updates with Elementor, or the plugins. Is it going to break? Add WooCommerce into the mix, and suddenly you can lose a day just on one site.
Yeah. I wish I had more time, man. The things I would be doing, all the tools that I want to test and play around with.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah.
see.
So I'm assuming this is probably Mark. We'll continue using Elementor for one of our client builds. We consider moving to Bricks, but we value the support of a much larger development team and ecosystem. Well, I think support is probably a topic in its own right. That's fair enough. Like I say, I don't think anyone should change to other tools just because some YouTuber goes on there and says this is the next best thing. If we all did that, we'd be into AI up to our eyeballs right now, and that would be the focus of everything.
See how crazy it is, and like in that industry right now, I'm following people, and like I'm just getting into cloud code. I'm getting into, and I'm trying to keep up. It is so hard to keep up right now in that industry. I'm like, okay, Cloudbot or Moltbot and OpenClaw, and it's just like it just kept changing, and then now it's teamwork, and it's so fast, and I'm trying to learn all this stuff that's coming out in that industry, and I came to a conclusion you can't work a normal job and keep up with all that stuff. Like, I
No.
don't know how. It's like a full-time job just keeping up with it. So I think a lot of content creators in the AI space right now, like that's their full-time job,
Oh
just
yeah, yeah.
staying on top of new AI stuff, but actually being able to utilize all these tools, and make money off of it, like legit money, like, actually providing value and helping client money, not.
Not I made 10K in 3 minutes with my new AI chatbot integration, N8N supported kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it is definitely at this point in time, it's the Wild West out there. We talked about this before. It is very much the Wild West out there when it comes to AI. And I think trying to keep up, unless you have a need to be utilizing that in your everyday life, I just think at some point it's going to settle down. Because it is like everybody's competing with everybody else. Like one brings a feature out. Like I say, I'm experimenting with Claude myself at the moment. I've been a ChatGPT user for quite some time, and you've got Claude Code, which everyone's going like, it's the best thing since sliced bread. And then 2 days later, it's like Claude Code. That's so yesterday. It's like
That literally happened.
it.
All
It, do-
right?
it, it
Just
does. Yeah, I
literally.
know. It's insane that you do just kind of have to think: is life just too short to give a shit about a lot of these things? Realistically,
Dude, and that's the thing, dude. These things are page builders. Like, I honestly, dude, I think it's silly when I see people getting so personal over
oh
a
god,
tool.
yeah,
It's a tool. It's
yeah.
just a plugin, at the end of the day. And that's why I don't get into the drama. I don't take it all seriously. I give my critique to Elementor because I want to see the best out of them. And I got to be honest. I got to keep it real. If something is wrong, I got to say it's wrong. And I'm
Mm.
doing it because I do want the best out of them. But then also, for me, I care about the user. That's who I'm loyal to. I'm not loyal to a plugin. I'm not loyal to a tool, or another team. It's the people using it. It's everybody here inside of the chat. That's who I care about, who I'm creating content for, and who I'm teaching. So I think it's good to call it out and not be a fan. For me, I can't be a fanboy because if I feel like I am doing a disservice and not really helping out, not helping whoever I'm a super fan of, but I'm also not helping out everybody else. Got to keep it real. And if something gets too bad, I'm out.
Yeah,
There's a lot of big tools inside of WordPress I will not touch. And that's because they've done things that I don't agree with.
yeah.
They've done things I feel is wrong. I feel like, okay, they're just not that good, but they got so much clout. They're owned by these big companies that buy up everything. And, I refuse to touch them, promote them. I get offers for sponsorships from them. I know they pay well. I'm sure they're paying other people well, but
Mm.
I'll never, ever promote something that I feel is rubbish or inferior, like severely inferior, just ran by people who I just don't think are my type,
No,
my
I'm a
rant.
hundred
That's
percent.
my
No,
rant.
no,
Yeah.
I'm 100% with you. We've talked about this many times. I think offline and sometimes online. You know, I think people sort of get this kind of weird interpretation of just because we're online and we're talking about products or tools, whatever, it's not a case of that we're saying other things are bad. I don't know if you get the same thing. It's like you get kind of two kinds of types of comments. One, oh, you're just a fan of so and so. This is just a so and so channel now. It's like, but what people need to understand is I'm not going to sit there and talk about tools that I don't use. I don't use Divi. I don't use Visual Composer. I don't use WP Bakery. I don't use Beaver Builder. So while I've talked about them very, very briefly in the past, if I've dabbled in them, I'm not going to focus on those tools because I don't use them. So they're not something that I'm familiar enough with to be able to sort of spend any time realistically showing people how to do things with it. I'm not confident enough in that. That's why fundamentally Elementor was the one I was using because I bought Elementor. I still pay for Elementor. They never gifted me Elementor in the slightest. I pay exactly the same as I did when Pro came out. So I've been paying for Pro for what, 10 years? I don't even use it on any commercial projects anymore or any personal projects, except for maybe one, and that's going to be updated anyway. But I still keep my hand in there because much the same as yourself, I do want them to sort of move forward and give us a good product. I do think they've made some silly mistakes in the past with various different things, business decisions and product decisions. But I do still think there's a path forward for them to become a more modern builder. Bricks is what I use. And I've used Bricks since, well, I transitioned from Elementor probably as Bricks reached, I don't know, probably 6 to 8 months, maybe a year into its lifespan, when it became a product which I could realistically use. But again, like you, there are products out there, and just because you don't talk about them, people come back and go, oh, why do you talk about the Fluent products, for example? You must hate product company X and Y. It's like, why would I hate a company just because I don't use their products and talk about it? I don't talk about it because I don't use them. So I've got no experience, or they didn't meet the requirements that I had. Therefore, I chose a different product and bought that. But people have this sort of thing, you must hate them. It's like, hate is a really strong word. Just because you don't use and talk about something doesn't equal hate. It's really strange. And like you say, the whole sort of, oh, you're a fanboy of product X or product Y. It's like, no, I just talk about the products that I know well. I just don't talk about products that I don't know. Or, like you just said, I have to like the company behind it as well, or the people behind it. If I don't feel comfortable with the people involved in that company for whatever the reason is, whether it's their behavior, whether it's their outlook, how they treat their customers or clients, whatever, I don't want to be associated with them. But that's my personal thing. I don't go and badmouth them. I just don't talk about them. I was always taught if you've got nothing good to say, just don't say anything. So that's why I don't talk about a lot of different products. Like you,
Yeah.
I get emails every single day from some of those big companies offering me lifetime licenses, paid collaborations and sponsorships, and all those kinds of things. And most of the time, I don't even reply because I don't want to get into the conversation with those companies because I have no interest in working with them.
Yeah, same here. Sometimes you just gotta like just move on, you know? And it's something I think about when I see some of those like really like emotionally powerful comments like on something like Elementor. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's all good. You know, if it doesn't fit you anymore, like move on to what does. The thing is, we're in a creative business. I just feel so fortunate to do what I do, being able to wake up, go to my own computer, create something, build something. It's like the freedom to just do this
Mm.
is amazing. And it's to me, sometimes it could be sad seeing that freedom like wasted on bad energy. So I like even right now, as I went on my rant, like I was thinking of some names, but I held back. I'm like, it doesn't really help out. Like it's not going to help, like, oh, this company isn't what I, want to align myself with or use their products. But another thought though on bricks. So what kind of going back to that, and I guess sort of to one of your questions. And I think Elementor users that have been using Elementor for some time, I think a lot of them that are looking forward to V4 are the ones who have developed skills they've pushed themselves. They push themselves. They see the new things that are out there. They want to get into it, but getting into something new, it takes time. It could be overwhelming. And a lot of the times we are running a web design business, and it often isn't a smart idea to learn a brand new tool while we are in the middle of, client work, trying to lock in new work and build a company. But I do think though a lot of people would be surprised on how quickly they would learn it if
Yes.
they are already at that level, and I think it's something worthwhile for other people. Now, with that in mind, something I want to ask you, something that's been on my mind. What do you think it would take for bricks to grow, other than word of mouth in the super technical development communities, the oxygen communities and stuff like that? Like, what do you think it would take for bricks to grow and start to get more users outside of that niche?
Well, funny enough, a couple of comments have come up recently that I've been reading, different threads and things. And one of the things is that they realistically need to start having an educational aspect to their official channels. So, for example, if you look at a lot of the sort of page builders out there, a lot of the tools out there, Crockablock's a good example. They get people that are good educators on board to create officially licensed kind of tutorials and guides to various different things. And they've done a lot of sort of work on that sort of respect. And Elementor did a lot of it. They don't do it so much now, but they got different creators and things like that on board. And I think they were better with creators because I think internally, not specific to Elementor, but like to lots of companies, you get some people that are good educators and they can make it interesting. Look at Webflow, for example. The guy that sort of got off and doing his own thing, that I can't think of his name. He was incredible. And the Webflow Academy was a sort of shining light example of making education fun, interesting, useful. And companies don't seem to realize that they really need to do that. I think that's one aspect they need to do to make it easier for people to get on board. Second thing think they need to do is they need to actually push forward with the affiliate plan, because the affiliate thing that Thomas put out there was like probably like 3 years ago. And I don't care. I don't talk about bricks because I want to make the money off an affiliate thing. I could care less about it. But it will get more people that are financially focused, or they just running businesses, which again I think is a topic we want to talk about. They're running businesses and they can't take the time to invest into learning to be able to teach and put those educational pieces together to promote it. Elementor has benefited in lots of different ways. I use Elementor because it is, whether like it or not, it's the biggest. And Divi probably being like the second biggest out there. Having lots of creators creating content for it of mixed quality, it has to be said. But there are some ones out there that create exceptional quality. They're creating courses, they're creating free courses, free educational content that goes into huge amounts of detail. I'm not saying that they're all financially sort of motivated, but the reality is it takes us time, investment in financial investment, time investment into the software, the learning education, creating that content and putting it out there. And Elementor has benefited from people like you, from Imran, from Reno, from myself, from Mark, from Wiki and so on, and Dave Denton, all those kinds of people creating content. I mean, I make next to nothing from Elementor, and I haven't for years. And I know we've talked before, and it's like it isn't something that makes anywhere near the time investment that we put into it to give us any kind of affiliate commission. But if you were an affiliate, sorry, if you were an Elementor focused channel, you probably could make some good money. Maybe not enough to live off, but good money from it. That incentivizes people to invest that time and effort into creating that content, whether it's written, video, whatever type of content it is. And I think bricks would benefit from doing that because it's still cheaper than paying someone several thousands, maybe tens of thousands of pounds, dollars, whatever, to create specifically for you. So you create this kind of ecosystem around it. And Elementor has absolutely benefited from that, same as Divi have benefited from it. And some of the other page builders, have names there that people are used to and are accustomed to it, like GeneratePress and GenerateBlocks. You've got Kyle and you've got Jonathan They are known names in that sphere for creating content on those tools. They got a good reputation. They create great content. That helps drive sales, drives awareness, because people feel like if I don't know how to do something, I can find a video to show me how, or I can find a tutorial to show me how. You don't have that as much with bricks. You simply don't. There's not that many creators creating consistently and creating content that's structured and not just sort of sporadic on this is a cool feature, let's make a video on it. Like for me, it's like if I want to create those more intermediate tutorials, I've got to create those foundational ones, which is why I've just releasing the sort of 3 or 4 part series on the CSS framework. Why I've done was on the fundamentals of like how do you build pages, deal with dynamic data, deal with CSS grid and flexbox and those kinds of things. They have to be there as well. Those are things that I think really would help push bricks forward into a much wider audience and break down that sort of entry barrier that people think it's a developer tool when the reality is it's not a developer tool. It could be used that way, but the entry cost isn't as high as people seem to think it is.
Yeah, for sure. It's such a, I don't know, it seems like it's such a simple solution that could have such a big impact. And honestly, it's one of my concerns with bricks. That something like that definitely I could see changing things. Like there are some good creators making videos on bricks. Crack is really good, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's some good people, but like everybody who is learning, having more options gives you more chances to learn from people who you connect with more and learn from.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because different styles, you learn differently from different styles. You could have 5 of us make a video on the same thing. It's not that either of us are better. Well, some people are just better at teaching, but someone's teaching style will align more with somebody, and just having more of those, I feel like it would just open up the world to people, open up everything to everyone. And something you said really interesting. You did
So
that for Croco Block. That you created videos for Croco Block. I got Croco Blocks LTD because I learned it from you. So I started learning Croco Block and Jet Engine, and I built a client site using your tutorial. This is before we ever met, and I learned. And I just like I was just getting the yearly deal, and I'm like, you know what, this is a great tool. I'm going to go all in, and I paid like $1,000 for an
mm,
LTD on it. And this is something that I see. Look at this is why it's important to be honest and critique. There's pros and cons to everything. Bricks
yeah.
does a lot of things good, but there's one thing I've been open with that I wish would change, and I wish there would be some sort of marketing plan going on. Not for them. I don't. It's not about them making money. It's about ensuring we got a tool that is going to grow and not going to just get left in the weeds later on because the business side died out. I feel like, it's the owner's responsibility to make sure that we're taken care of. I don't know that, but that's just me, hoping that I don't lose a tool that I really enjoy.
I think that the problem you've kind of got is you've got a lot of developers, and we don't see this just specifically to bricks. I think it's across the board. You get some companies that are really, really good at not just creating good products, but also promoting, marketing, and educating. I mean, a good example is you look at Fluent, WP Managed Ninja. They are always releasing videos. Are they all stellar quality videos? Are some of them sales pitches? Absolutely. At the end of the day, they're there to make money. They're a business to make money. But then they also continually put out educational content that it's surface level. It doesn't go deep. But for some people, that's more than enough to kind of look, oh yeah, actually that's quite cool. I think that kind of does what I wanted to do. I'm going to go and download it or try it out or whatever. Those are important things. And then you see some other companies that are basically just non-existent. I mean, I like Generate Press and Generate Blocks. I think out of those kinds of tools, I think they are some of the best. But they have no real marketing and promotion that I see, and no online training, as in, educational content. Much better now that they sort of got Jonathan on board, but that's also relatively low key. So I would like to see sort of more companies realizing that there's a lot of importance needs to be, you don't just create a great product because that doesn't do enough. You'd only ever have a very small market share. You have to have marketing, promotion, education alongside the support and development. Support and development are given. If you're going to create a product that you're going to sell to people, you have to have those two things. But those other things, they are just as important, if not more important. Because if no bugger knows about it, why are they going to buy it? Because they're not going to know. So I agree with you. I think Thomas really needs to consider how he pushes forward with bricks in the future, because it is a solid tool. It has, I think David McCann put a thing up a couple of days ago about like a market share. And if you take it with this is relative, whether the numbers are spot on or not. And I think, if I remember rightly, I think bricks was up to something like about 800 or 900,000 websites being built currently with bricks, which is a big number. But it could be so much bigger because it is one of the best builders out there. Regardless of what you think, it is one of the best builders out there. And if you consider something like Buildarius, I'm probably saying that wrong, but I've been speaking to Elvis, one of the guys behind it, and I know they've got Dave Den on board to be doing some educational content. So they've seen the benefits of getting someone that has a social media presence, is already known for creating educational content on YouTube. And they've said, let's get someone like that on board and get them to create content for us, because then they leverage the name and they benefit from having educational content put out there, people following that person and being notified about that new content being released, and that increases the potential of adoption. If you don't do that, you can rely on it organically. I mean, most of what we create is organic because we like those products. We want to educate and help people out with those products. But there's still a benefit from taking the organic element out and having a sense of a synergy between the creator and the product, where they might get inside knowledge of new features coming out so they can create content and have that immediately available when that content is released. That's important. That's things that really need to be done within bricks, I think. They really need to start embracing that aspect of things and not rely upon just the organic nature.
Yeah. See, bricks and Elementor, they can learn from each other, man.
Yes, I agree. You've got to look at, like, one's gone to the extreme of one direction, one maybe to an extreme of the other direction. And I think the middle ground is where the benefits kind of come in.
Have Elementor send like 2 of their 200 marketing staff over.
They sacked all them, didn't they?
Elementor go and clean, have Thomas go clean up the code. Dude, they can solve each other's problems. Like, utopia right there, man.
Elementor bricks.
Man, if only there was a perfect world, huh? And then,
if only. Which nicely brings us on to another topic we wanted to talk about. We'll do this as the last topic, which is WordPress page builders. Is there room in the market for more page builders? I mean, I'm going to put this over to you to start off with. We've talked about, like, Buildarius, you've got Droip, you've got, what's the other one? That's got Mosaic. These are just 3 relatively new names that are kind of coming into the WordPress builder market, and builders in different degrees with different strengths. But what do you think? How difficult do you think this is when you've got a market that's dominated by basically WP Bakery, Visual Composer?
They're still selling, right?
I know. Well, I think
they position themselves as AI now too. Okay, I said I wasn't going to talk shit about others, man, but come on, dude. You go to WP Bakery website, AI building websites.
Let me just quickly give you a brief story about this. And we talked about this off air about like the onboarding experience that Reno covered when it came to Elementor 1. Well, I bought years and years and years ago, I bought Visual Composer and licensed for it because I wanted the support side of things and to be able to download it from Envato, because obviously it was bundled with so many different plugins before they changed the name to WP Bakery and all that kind of crap. Well, I thought, I'd seen a bunch of advertising and marketing and stuff for WP Bakery and things. I thought, let's just go and download it. Let's just install it and see, has it changed since the last time I tried it? I thought, okay, go to their website. Click on there. There's absolutely nowhere on our website to be able to log in and get access to what you purchased. Nowhere. There's no account, there's no dashboard, there's no admin. So where would you actually get that download from? Because you buy it directly on their website. You could buy it from Envato years ago, but it's like, how do you get it? So I just like, boast of that. We just leave that as it is. But anyway, back to the
Email them.
story.
You got to email them.
Yeah. Where's my effing license at
They'll send you a
wpbakery.com?
drive file or something.
Yeah. Where's my effing license at wpbakery.com? So anyway, back to the point. I mean, what are your thoughts? How difficult do you think it is when you go to market that's literally dominated by probably 3 or 4 different big names right now?
I mean, it's going to be difficult for anybody coming out, but I like it. I like to see the competition come out. You see how Bricks shook everything up when it came out, and it just came out at the right time. And looking at, okay, this one isn't providing this or doing this one right, and this one isn't doing this. I'm going to build it the way I think is going to help out.
Yeah.
And I still think there's room, and maybe this is the reason why Elementor is rushing so much and why they see, especially now with AI being able to help, I could see builders being built out much faster by development teams and by engineering teams and smaller teams as well. So I think we're going to start to see things moving quite fast. And I don't know. I kind of thought about this for a little while, and I remember too the WP Bakery days and the theme forest,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
we get a new project. It's okay. Let's go to theme forest and find the right theme
Yep. Live
for
that
the
dream.
website I want to build.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And
If
then
you've been there, you've been there. You know what's up, man.
yeah, and you also know that you did that, and then you go to do an update or to do something 6 months later, and that was gone from your account because the company had pulled that plugin or that theme or whatever, and you were like, "Shit, what do I do now? I'm screwed. I can't update. I'm gonna have to go and
Been there.
retrospectively rebuild that client site and make it look exactly the same."
Yeah. Or a core feature, a core plugin that's a premium plugin was in there, but then the developer's just like, yeah, I'm not going to pay for the license anymore. And they just let it break and it no longer functions on the site because it's just like,
Yeah,
it's just done. Yeah.
and
But I think like, how we had all those different options though for like some things. There's a lot of good ones out there. Salient was my favorite go-to back in the days. But I think that, we're going to start to have more options out there as long as they can make it easier. So I tried Divi 5 for the first time this week. Well, I tried it like last year, but it was still so new. I didn't want to put too much time into it. But, I've been hearing a lot of good things. They got variables in it. They got classes in it. And I wanted to give it a test. And it looked complicated, man. It looked like it's going to take time to learn. Like it was not as straightforward as I thought it would be, especially like the variables and the class experience. Nowhere near like what Elementor did. Like Elementor, I could see that they're taking a page out of the Bricks book where Divi did something different. So I think if a builder makes something really complicated, it could be difficult. But if they keep it if they keep it, I don't know. I think there's still room for different things that people like. Like, I guess it's up to the individual. It's like, do you want a page builder? Do you want to work with something like Blocksy? Or, we're just going to have more options now. I don't know. What do you think about this?
I'm wondering if you're going to get more builders that are very specialized in how they approach things. I mean, look at Build Areas. From my understanding, and I could be talking rubbish here. I mean, I'm sure Dave then would sort of like clear this up. That feels very much data driven. For people that want to build database sites, that really feels like that's what they're doing there, which I think is a good thing because Bricks is very strong with the data side of things. But if you had a tool that was specifically built around that, and that's the kind of tools you wanted to use, and you could really focus on performance and efficiency and not just the building side of things, but you sort of like take those little, should I say, like edge cases and edge case features. Look at the videos they released recently about the loop and how deep that can actually go with multi-level sort of loop elements like nested loops and things like that. And it's built directly into it and to make it really simple and straightforward. That I think is where you'll get edge case tools they're not going to have any kind of market penetration like you'd see from someone like Divi or Elementor and stuff like that. But then that's not their end game. Their end game is to be right. This is the tool that users that want that and they have a real need for that. That's the tool they would choose. Do you know what I mean? So it's a much smaller market, but it's a much more dedicated market. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more things like that. And we know that AI is going to come into this, and there's comments inside here as well. I mean, this is a good one. So we'll actually put this up because I think this is literally relevant to what I was going to say. Do you see that AI will take the place of page builders? I think for me, the answer is yes and no. Because what people still don't seem to kind of get to grips with is, yes, AI can build websites. And AI is getting better at building good-looking websites. And AI can build sites that have a basic CMS and stuff like that in the back end. And you can kind of do all those things. But there's two things that people kind of still miss out on. And a lot of the sort of the hype that you get on YouTube kind of plays into that, is that anybody can do it. They can't. Because you can't tell AI to do something when you don't know what it is you want it to do or need it to do. You need to have some kind of development background, whether that's building websites, using a tool like WordPress, or actually building CMSs yourself. To get efficient and get good results, you need to know what you're asking. And AI is still 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. You ask it to do something, and then it undoes something you asked it 3 steps ago. And unless you notice that, it causes a problem. So that will get better. But then there's the updating side of things when you want to make changes. It's all well and good being able to tell it what you want it to do. But right now, we're not at that point. Will we get there? Probably. But right now, we're not at that point. We can go, change this, add this, do that. And it's like it's aware of everything else that's going on around it, and it will do that without causing problems. This is something you have using like a tool like WordPress or something like that. You have more immediate control where you are hands-on in it. It will change. Of course it will. Everything changes. But right now, I don't see AI replacing things like that for every use case. And you're not talking about clients. You're talking about the build process. And that's very different from client use. But what do you think?
Yeah. Oh, I don't see it replacing it. Not anytime soon. It's supposed to be there to make things go faster, but to actually build, I've been really getting into it. Like I've been diving into Claude Code right now. Before, like earlier today, I was building out a website with Claude Code and pencil.dev. And, I ran out of credits within like 20 minutes. Like I was in the zone, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't really want to pay $200 a month. And if I do pay $200 a month, the way as fast as I could use that up, I'm looking at it's a lot of money. So that's one thing that I realized recently as I'm going deeper into, the AI, because I think it's important to be in it, to learn it right now. I think all of us building websites for clients need to be in it. Even people are just designing. Like right now, that's why I'm in Claude Code, because I'm learning Claude Code with Figma using MCPs, and how can I, get started with things? How can I, update variable? There's all kinds of things I could do. I really want to learn how I could use this in my flow, but to replace, I don't see it replacing a designer in the design process, or a page builder either. I just don't see it. Not anytime soon right now. Often I could go in and build something faster than going back and forth with the AI.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the point of using it if I could go in and build out a landing page that looks better and uses my framework, and I know what's done, and so on.
Yeah, I think to get the real benefit out of it, they need to become aware of the environment more so than they are right now. Yeah. So like you say, you're comfortable working with a framework, you're comfortable working inside, like in Figma, then that framework transitions over into whatever you're using to build it. You need tools to be able to keep that consistency and understand that the whole, as opposed to just the individual specific. And as good as we call it AI, whatever you want to call it, but as good as that is getting, and it is getting good, we can't deny that. We'd be idiots if we denied it. It still has a long way to go to replace the human element. It does, because it's been trained on other things. There's no creativity in that. It is literally just regurgitating patterns. That's all AI is doing. And that is all that's going to happen for the longest time if it ever changes. So you're never going to get like music. I mean, you list like Suno, for example. It's insane what that can do when it comes to music. Absolutely insane. Who gets the best use out of that? The people that just go spit out a song in this style that sounds like that, and then everything just sounds the same. Same as all websites end up looking the same. Or the person that's a musician that has ideas, drops that into a platform like Suno, gets that to spit out 10 different variations and use that as inspiration to create their own unique end result. That's the one that's got some kind of human element to it. And people will just get bored of AI generated stuff. You only need to look at images now and you go, it's cool, it's AI, straight away. You go onto YouTube, it's like, oh, let's have a look at that, it's AI. And the voiceover is getting better, the video is getting better, but it's still AI. And you still go, I don't want another frigging AI video. Give me someone that's actually a human being that I can listen to or watch or whatever. I'm not interested. And people are going to get more like that as it gets more and more saturated.
I don't know about you, but when I'm in a video and like it's actually good and I'm watching, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And 6 minutes goes by, I'm like, I hear them saying the words. I'm like, oh man, that's AI. You got me, dude. I feel like ripped off. Like I just like, you just took my time. I don't know. Anybody else could relate, but I don't know. I think this is interesting to talk about later because I can see AI page builders. I can see that. Right now, what I'm doing with Cloud Code inside, like just building that website out today directly in pencil.dev, like I was like, dang, okay, this is going to happen in WordPress. It might take a little bit of time, but once they get those MCPs and they really get it working, we're going to be able to go in and build it. Like, I don't know if you tried out, have you tried out Angie yet?
No, I haven't. Yeah. I've seen some stuff on it, and I've tried the AI in the past, and I was never impressed by the Elementor
It doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work. I tried it. It just didn't work at all. But I could see what it's going for. It's going for, like, the vision is to have it do that. It just isn't implemented yet.
Yeah. But who knows? Who knows? I think it's, as we said before, it's exciting times at this point in time. I'm just glad that I'm that far into my career that I don't have to worry so much about it. Give me another 10 years, I'm going to be out of here. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm done.
Imagine how good it's going to be in 10 years, though, man.
Or
it's going to be awesome. Imagine what phone we're going to have. Like, what are our phones going to imagine? Just think about how our iPhone or Android looked 10 years ago and to what it is today. What are we going to have?
My iPhone looks the same, just bigger. Apple just iterate. Apple just iterate. We know that it's the same phone 15 times over. Look, I think AI is. We're really just, like I say, in the Wild West right now. It's going in every direction, and some directions it makes sense, other directions it doesn't. But you can tell AI content, especially on YouTube, because it is just repetitive. You've got a 10-minute video that says the same thing in different phrases for 9 minutes. And then there's an intro and outro at the end of it. It's like you literally just said the same thing. You're just padding this shit out to try to make money off it. That's all you're doing.
Yeah, they need to find a way to stop that stuff because I know that they have AI agents now automatically creating blog posts and videos. It's all automated 100%. Yep. That is going to destroy things, and that's really going to mess things up inside YouTube. It's already been doing it inside of our searches, but yeah, man, I don't know if they can stop it. They can't even stop bots.
No, it's just the enshittification of everything we're kind of getting used to. I mean, YouTube was kind of like YouTube's my kind of thing. I don't really watch normal TV. I haven't for a long time, and there's only specific channels I really watch on there these days because they're more like TV channels. You know what I mean, like TV specials and stuff like that. But it is getting worse and worse and worse. Searches are shit. Like using Google is terrible because it's not just sponsored ads now. It's sponsored ads, AI. Then videos, and it's like half the time you can't even find what you want. And I watched an interesting video the other day about how your YouTube is basically just being screwed over. If you do a search on YouTube, only the first 4 or 5 results will actually be what you searched for. Then you have a bunch of shorts underneath it that are not related. Then everything underneath that is absolutely nothing to do with what you searched for. And usually the top result is nothing you've searched for, sponsored.
It's probably why all the numbers drop so much across the board. And just seeing more and more other content creators reporting that. But maybe that's something we could talk about next time. I know we had something about other designers, developers, and WordPress users and stuff creating content and getting started creating content. I would like to talk more about that, maybe inside of the next live stream. I think a lot of people have thought about it, but are hesitant to get started because it's not an easy thing to get started, but I think it's something that could benefit. It benefits us all, but especially the person who learns or like starts to create content. As you know, this is such a beneficial thing to be in because you learn so much. You're constantly in it and forced to learn almost in a way where you have to stay in that process. But my mind is starting to slow down. I feel it. My cup of chaga tea. By the way, thank you, Elementor, for the awesome mug.
He can't even focus on it. He can't even
This
focus
is
on
not
it.
sponsored.
No, it is this one. Anyway, yes. So let's wrap it up there. We'll be back to our normal cycle. So not next week. It'll be the week after. Providing Jeffrey's available, we'll kind of come back in and do another live stream. If you've enjoyed this one, make sure you do hit that like and subscribe down below to be notified when this new content is added and we do a next live stream. Make sure you check out Jeffrey's channel. And if they want to find out more about you, Jeffrey, how would people do that?
Just search for Lightbox. Hopefully it comes up above the shorts, but if you only see shorts, you're not going to find it. All right, so just wait around.
Just research for Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Right there, so we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Keep an eye on the channel. Make sure you subscribe to Jeffrey's channel if you're not already, and make sure you sign up to join his Circle community because it's a fantastic place to be part of. Jeffrey, thank you very much again for being part of today's live stream. It's been a fantastic chat. Hope people in the comment section have enjoyed it. And if you're watching this on catch up, be sure to drop a comment down below on any of the points we've raised in this particular live stream. As always, look after yourselves, take care, and we will see you again in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everyone.
Take care.